Welcome back. Mr. Adu, there is an initiative in the market known as the X-Whistle. How has that addressed the issue of corruption in the market and, of course, the economy?
Onyema and his team have done a very great work, extremely very excellent work. They've been able to bring some sort of transparency to the exchange. You have your fix, whereby you can view and trade online real time. And I'm glad that my company was one of the first to actually roll into that platform. When you talk about the whistleblowing portal that they've also developed, that is fine, but that is not the end itself. The essence is just one of the little drops in the ocean of Nigeria. If they can't do it all by themselves, they've created an ASM board. But what is the government doing to support companies that wish to list on the ASM board? There has been only one company since ASM has been created that has raised fund, and that company is Omoluabi Savings and Loans PLC. So if you look at it, why are companies not getting listed on the ASM board? That's what we should ask ourselves about. What are the advantages? The exchange on its own has brought about the platform, as explained to everybody, but it's now left for the government, its policymakers, and the implementers of those policies to now assist the small and medium-scale enterprises to be able to meet all those orders and list on the ASM board. So the whistleblowing is a very wonderful idea, but it's a little into the ocean called Nigeria. Nigeria is very huge. There are a lot of companies out there that are not even listed and they have very, very good returns, extremely very good returns than some of these bigger companies. For instance, I'll give you an example, particularly about the SMEs, the disadvantage that they face in this country. If you look at the bond market, most of the bonds in Nigeria, nearly all that are listed, have tax exemption. Tax exemption means that you can have lower coupons because you'll be able to pass on that gains onto the prospective investors. Go and do your analysis and find out of all the companies that have raised bonds in Nigeria, even including governments, there has not been any SMEs involved. So in essence, the government has sort of passed subsidies to these big players. The smaller guys cannot raise bonds because of the balance sheet size, right? Because of corporate governance issues. The only way we can assist them is to get them into a lower tier of the exchange called the ASM board, where they're able to raise equity. If they're raising equity, they should be able to have some incentives for investors to be able to invest in them.
So tell us about the performance of those companies that you've been instrumental in listing in the stock markets, and of course the challenges that one experiences in listing SMEs in that same market.
A company that I would have loved to list was raise additional capital for was Magnicos. Right? I saw that they just declared a dividend of 4 kobo, and I'm not surprised because the company is doing very well. That is a company that I see as a future champion in Nigeria. The managing director and his team are actually very brilliant people. But unfortunately, we ran into a snag. A company that wanted to raise about 400 million naira, and the SEC are saying it's owing them 300 million naira out of regulatory charges. So I wouldn't know how that would be. And these are kind of the constraints that make people not want to list in Nigeria. It's part of the constraints that also make people not want to do business in the country. There are many other companies that I've spoken to. There's a lady that does this one sausage roll that has fish in it, and she has a factory somewhere in Ojota. She makes about 100 million naira a year, and she wanted to repeat this business at Ibadan, Akure, and Jos. She's already secured the land, and I was sure that was a very fantastic business, a business that we can watch grow and compete with the likes of USC Foods. But again, when the lady heard about all the stress you have to go through listing, which is good because you have to be able to go through all those corporate governance issues, that's what we want. But there's no incentives, none at all. It's going to list a company, going to open ourselves up to regulatory supervision, and the big companies are out there raising bonds as government subsidized with some sort of government subsidy involved. But she'll be listing a little company with her efforts. She's one generating her power, drilling her boreholes, doing everything by herself, but no incentives. If the government were to just allow her to have a 5-year tax break, she would have opened those 4 factories, employed more people than the amount of tax breaks she'll have earned. So the government is actually getting back. More people have been employed. Social services have been reduced. Right? That is what the government needs to start understanding, that you must apply your incentives to the right sectors of the economy, and the country will have also benefited in getting a company to be listed on an exchange and watch it grow over the years, so that it does not just die off. So those are the advantages of these things. It's not just something. I've seen that the government, for instance, are planning to do disburse money loans to SMEs, and I've challenged them. I said, look, you just don't give an Ajay money, a company that has a man and a woman as the shareholder. The money will just appear. Try and put some orderliness into this. Just say, okay, any company that is listed on an exchange in Nigeria would have access to this kind of loan as support. What that does, like, the companies would themselves have to pass through a funnel to ensure that they are very well prepared to follow corporate governance and sustainability. And it also made that company also be open to the entire country and any other person outside the country that wants to invest in them. So the wealth will be better shared, right? And the sustainability will be there. But it seems as if the government is not getting all this. We hope things change for the better, and we hope things are really done this time around.
So what's your projection for the macroeconomic variables after the elections?
I would say it depends on who wins. All right. The CBN has kept all its rates, right? 30% MPR, CRR for the private sector, and private sector funds have been retained. It depends on the policy, the economic direction of whoever wins the election. And that's why I said there's still a level of uncertainties. But if one looks at the manifestos of both of the two leading parties, the APC and the PDP, you will see that one is more infrastructure focused than the other, which is the APC. And if one were to look at that, you would expect that you will see a lot of funds flow into the infrastructure development of the country. You will see a lot of funds going into the park sector, into the road sector, and if they are true to their words that corruption will be brought to the barest minimum, then you will begin to see multiplier effects of the deployment of those funds, which is what I would say has been lacking in the past period we've seen in Nigeria. We've not seen major. You see, if a project were to be done, right, a project of 20 billion naira, you will see the multiplier effect, and that is true because the money is not just going to one pocket. It's going into someone that's going to supply the cement, the iron rods, and the people that are even going to feed the workers as they make that road along the route map. So that I expect. If the PDP wins, I expect them to also buckle this time around because they've been through fire and brimstone. The electionary process has been very, very intense. So I think, by and large, I will expect a better management of the macroeconomy in Nigeria going forward. The S&P, unfortunately, has lowered our grade by a notch, which I think is now 2 notches below investment grade. What I've been hoping and praying for is that the country will be able to click onto the investment grade, which is now 2 notches above or where we are. Once you're able to get into the investment grade, it opens a balance sheet to the entire world.
Do you not foresee austerity with the dwindling crude oil price and high exchange rates after the elections are over?
I will tell you, there is nothing wrong about Nigerian resources. It's the management and the level of corruption. No two ways to it. I said something just before your question, that once we're able to move to the investment grade, we have our balance sheet open to the entire world. You don't build a company with your resources alone. People assist you to build it. That is where a country is. A country must be able to attract investment from every part of the world. When Mr. Yu was building Singapore, a lot of funds flew into Singapore, and the only reason was because it was able to tackle corruption, right? The same thing here. If you're able to reduce corruption, funds will flow. And mind you, even the dwelling oil prices, at the time oil prices in Nigeria were as low as $38. And even if it comes to that, the country will still have to survive. We have the population, we have the enterprising nature of the people. We all have to find a way to bring this out. I think we have resorted and cast our minds solely to a rent-seeking economy. It's only when you are rent seekers that you just expect oil prices to be high and you just blow the money, and that's what has been happening. If you really want to be an economic champion, you must go back into production, and you can only do production if you are not a rent seeker. You can only be productive if the economy is right and if there is no corruption, because like I mentioned, corruption brings about inequalities within the economy. It brings about various inequalities, various shocks amongst various sectors of the economy, and that's why things will not flow very well. So what I'm saying is like fund flow into the economy would be directly proportional to the level of corruption in the economy. That is how it is all over the world.
Thank you very much, sir. We're really grateful for your time with us.